I have made a crane for you. What angle? Is this not in focus? Well, that's okay. Kind of almost looks like a dinosaur. It's a paper crane. I spent longer than I should have making this. Because I had briefly forgotten how to make them. So I had to look it up like a fool. But now I have it. I have a crane. It's here to wish me luck for this court case. As I long haul today. I actually was into the next part of the game. But there was no music playing and I wanted music to be playing during this part. So we're just going to go back in. I made sure I saved though. Right? So, I don't know if you need to be recapped, but in case you do. We investigated. We went to investigate, the main place was Chief Gant's office, where we found some evidence that was hidden away from the SL9 incident. One of them bearing Emma's fingerprints for some reason. And Lana is saying that there are reasons, so she was told to follow orders from somebody to dispose of Bruce Goodman's body, and she can't say who it was, and she can't give out details or whatever, so today's the last day. So it's the last day of the trial, and we're gonna figure out just what happened. As I had mentioned, this is still the same day as the last session, so I still have the really good, delicious Red Bull, not sponsored. So we got that. My eye's still kind of twitching. But at least I have high chews. Now, this is a lot of sugary stuff, the Red Bull and high chews, but also, it's just how it is. It's near me, so that's what I'm using. Anyway, this is defendant lobby, alright, but there's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if... Who's this? Something's been happening behind the scenes. Who's this? Oh. I was not expecting it to be him. For some reason I thought it was gonna be Jake, but I think maybe he's not. He's predisposed. Edward! Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 777777 ID number is, that is. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still a room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True. Not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, right? And Chief Prosecutor Sky will be found guilty. But she didn't do it! I figured you'd say as much. And that's why I came here. To hear what you have to say. Adrian! You want to have a talk with me? This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something. And the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth? Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. And see you in court, right? Ah! Why can't we just always just be friendly like this, Edward? This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. Okay, I just realized that this probably is going to be a very long trial day. This is gonna be very long, I think, from what I remember. Oh boy, okay, we got this. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Scott. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is where the prosecution puts forth its opening statements. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief Gant. Oh god! He phased in! Morning, folks! How's everyone doing? Hey, Archie, been back to the pool yet? That just sounds like gumshoe. Well, whatever. No! I've been drowning enough as it is in my work! Oh! That's a good one! Don't think I can top that! If you don't mind me asking, Chief. Exactly what is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court.
She wants to do what?
I haven't heard what she intends to say. I feel she'd be... Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble.
What's this all about, defendant? I'd like to just make one simple request, and I'll be finished.
Well then, what's your request?
Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial.
Huh?
I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office.
No! Lana!
You can't! Your Honor, the defense's claim does not change the defense's plea! In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services.
But Lana!
Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please.
Well, the defendant certainly has a right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial. Even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise.
This can't be happening.
It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant.
Hold it, please.
Oh, good. Yeah, Edward! One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edward? The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand it's a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be.
Yeah, stand up for yourself, buddy, we love you!
With a sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal? Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Oh, to whom? As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. Oh, but what? I request the court hears her testimony. What?
Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to continue.
I don't care what you think, Miss Skye.
That's how you tell her.
The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. That's where Emma's been. Emma's been with Edward. Very well. The court shall grant the prosecution's request. But this is for the case of Lana Skye, right? What does Emma have to do with it? That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy. You'll live to regret this. Mark my words. You're just threatening him in front of the court! Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. The nerve of you!
Looks like Edward decided to take the horse by the reins.
Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation.
My name is Emma Skye. My occupation? I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator.
2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark Killers. Is this correct?
Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though.
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edward, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it most certainly is. He sure gave in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. And it's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial.
I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me. But I'll never forget what I saw in that instance. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest.
Oh no! He was not stabbed in the chest. Also, okay, I think that's a shirt collar. But for a second, it looked like he had like 5 fingers plus the extra thumb. Like it looked like he had an extra digit of fingers. But his collar is the actual that was his collar. There's a contradiction. It's a good thing you weren't harmed.
I passed out. I don't remember much.
That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edward, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You gotta admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. We got this, girl. We got this, Emma. Oops. I was waiting for my sister in the office. Man came running hostage. I'll never forget. The man raised up, stabbed Marshall in the chest. So, it says that Neil was stabbed in the back, died from a punctured heart and lung. Oh, shit! What? Why is that wrong? What? That clearly is a contradiction. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest? Hey! That clearly was a contradiction! What did I do wrong? That must have been a real shock.
Even now when I close my eyes, I can still see it just as clearly.
Tell us, what were you doing at that moment? I believe you testified that Joe Dark was holding you hostage.
When lightning struck and the lights went out, Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. I was thrown aside and the two began wrestling each other. I'm pretty sure I was watching them.
Emma doesn't have any reason to lie. But Lana sure does. I need to get Emma to tell me as much about this as she can. What? Do you want me to press everything before I can fucking show that she's fucking lying? God damn it, fine. Fine. Be that way, game. Even though that's clearly a contradiction. 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct?
Yes, she was second in command under the Deputy Chief of Police Gant. My sister, she was the best detective ever.
Nurse, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Miss Sky used to be quite a pair. And I believe they shared the same office.
That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play that day too.
The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day.
Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work. A man came running in and took me hostage.
Whoops. I meant to... A man?
Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer.
Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest. When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? And upon fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky in Gant's office.
There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened the door to have a look, and that's when I saw him.
Neil Marshall rescued me. What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were 2 people present during Dark's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. I almost forgot about Gant. Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assume that would also be why he was the first to run after Dark.
When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead.
And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in?
I don't clearly remember what happened then, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instance.
Can you tell us about that?
Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark, and just then, the lights went out.
The lights?
It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going, and lightning struck nearby.
So the electricity went out?
Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right?
Right, but just then, lightning flashed again outside. Then that sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind.
Even if it was nighttime and there was a storm brewing or whatever the fuck, as long as there's windows, there should still be some outside light going on, no? No? Whatever. I see.
I told the detective about what I saw then.
The detective?
Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case.
Detective Bruce Goodman, the victim.
Yeah, hear more.
So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago.
Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial.
And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw.
Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture.
A picture? Yes, I think she mentioned that before.
Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough? Answer about the picture!
This picture the witness drew, I believe it has a very important meaning.
But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor.
I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost. Can I present it now? This? Okay.
What about the fucking contradiction I found about them being stabbed in the chest? Well, that's just like not important anymore?
Mr. Edward. Sorry, I probably should have drank that during a stop. This little girl put all of her heart into drawing that picture. And yet, you would insist on denying its existence?
Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture.
That may well be. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold!
This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident.
Please turn it over, Your Honor.
Turn it over. I love that it shows that them turning it over is just the sheet going from where to where. Or specifically where to where. Turn it over. Turn it. Ah! What's this? Yes, what is that?
Hey! That's it! That's the picture I drew!
Indeed, 2 men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list?
Me?
Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. Huh? These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edward, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These 2 lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other.
So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in that case ever reached you.
What? What? Order! Order! But Miss Scott, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list? Such an important list? Whatever, fuck.
Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor.
Goodman, you idiot, what the fuck? Couldn't just get a separate sheet of paper? Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor!
Oh, you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head.
If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edward's list.
Hold up, you mean to tell me that Edward never looked at the backside of that paper? Not even to see if there was a second half of the list? Edward, what the fuck? Yes, that's quite conceivable. Mr. Edward? It's possible. Let's see. I don't believe for a second that you wouldn't know to turn the page over just to even look at it. You fucking buffoon. There's something wrong. Do you even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing. What? Sorry. That's that thing! That thing that was dancing in the evidence room! And clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. I guess he was out of scrap paper. Very well, witness. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago?
Huh? Yes, sir, Your Honor.
What's wrong with Emma? She seems to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture. God fucking damn it, why do you type so fucking slow?
This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant.
Is it in that instant or instance? Is it not instance? I keep saying instance, but it says the word instant. What I was shown in that instant. I guess I don't fucking know. To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark was about to murder. What? This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder Prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.